Hi everybody, welcome to Duet, Justus. I'm Michael.
I'm Jenny.
And today we're going to talk about what kind of RV we have and why we bought that RV. And I'm going to chug some coffee because it's super late.
Whoa.
Pumpkin spice. So today's topic is brought to you by one of our awesome viewers. Let's start out with what RV do we actually own? We went out and we purchased a 1989 Yellowstone Camino Classic. It's a 28-foot Class C RV that sits on a Ford E350 chassis. It's got the 7.5 liter Ford 460 motor in it, and that's a gas engine. And when we first bought it, it had 47,000 miles on it, and after driving it for a little bit, we're currently sitting at about 55,000 miles.
So how did we end up buying this RV? We weren't actually in the market for RVs at the beginning.
Nope.
We loved the idea of a tiny home, and we really wanted a tiny home. We started pricing it though, and we realized that it was way beyond our budget at that time.
Since the tiny home was out of the question, we started looking at fifth wheels and travel trailers, and they were in the price point that we were looking at, but the problem was the tow vehicle was going to be way too expensive.
Then we began looking on Craigslist for motorhomes that had the living space and the engine all in one, because that way it was basically the same price as travel trailers. In the price point that we were looking at, you got basically the same thing, but you got an engine attached to it, which was just pretty much perfect to solve all of our problems that we were having.
We had no idea what kind of RV we wanted, but we just started looking on Craigslist and just started exploring.
Yes, and I know it might look like we are independently wealthy, or, we're not. We're real people getting out of college, and we had a very small budget for the RV. So our price range was about $3,000 to $4,000.
Yeah. And have you seen the RVs you can get for $3,000?
They're a mess.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. So we definitely lucked out with what we got, but it wasn't easy to find. Over the course of a few months, we looked over Craigslist and we basically went to go see every new posting that we could find that was within our price point, just to see what we could get for our money. There were a lot of different ones, like Class Bs that were really, really tiny, like maybe 18 to 20 foot, and those were clearly too small for us. We decided that, and they were just really obscure. Like, a lot of the body styles were just something we had never seen before, and I was really scared that we wouldn't be able to find parts and all that stuff for it. We also saw like giant Class A's. Like, we went to see one, I think it was like 36, 38 feet, something like that. Had 2 AC units, and just like, it was way too much for us to maintain. The more stuff you buy, the more stuff you have to maintain, so we wanted something a little bit more simple than that. So the main reasons we went with a Class C was it was the perfect combination of size, maneuverability, and just practicality as far as like popularity goes with a body style. We could easily find parts to replace because we knew with an old RV it was bound to break down, and we just needed to have that accessibility with parts. And I think the last thing that we really loved about the Class C's was the engine was more separated from the actual living space. And we have a pretty funny story about that, like on one of our test drives through Craigslist.
Oh my gosh, yeah. So we test drove this Class A. I realized that we were looking at really old RVs. It's probably different in Class A's now, and it might have just been that one specific model that we looked at. But the engine was right in the floor, and
it was in between the driver's seat and the passenger seat.
Yeah, and it was letting off these awful fumes. I mean, I could not breathe. I had my head out the window trying to breathe, driving down the highway test driving this.
She had her tongue out too. It was weird. It was like flapping like right here.
I did not. But yeah, so it kind of turned us off to Class A's. I mean, with the Class C, your engine is more outside.
Yeah, no like hate to all the Class A's out there. If you have one and you love one, I'm sure it was just this one, but it kind of turned us off to that whole style of RV. So we had a list of must-haves after we got looking at, I got done looking at about 8 or 9 RVs. We were like, we need to have that and we don't need to have that. One of the first things we knew we didn't want was a diesel engine. And I know we looked up like the benefits and the positives of diesel engines, but frankly, we just didn't know enough about them. We weren't comfortable with them, and we also didn't want to pay for like diesel mechanics, and you kind of limit yourself when it comes to that. So we just decided to go with a gas engine. That was our first goal. One of the big things was having a separate bathroom and shower.
Yeah. It might be different for different people. Your tolerance of
grossness.
I don't know. No, I don't want to say that, but okay.
Yes. This is our personal preference, so no offense to anybody out there who has this, but we wanted the pooper away from the shower. That's basically what it was, right?
Yeah.
It's plain and simple. We also had another thing. We really wanted a separate bedroom.
Some of the bedrooms were kind of in the bathroom. Some of them were almost in the kitchen. And we just liked the idea of having it a little more separate, so it felt a little more like a normal apartment. Since we were looking at older RVs, we knew it wasn't going to be perfect. We knew we were going to have to put a lot of work into it. But there were a couple things. We wanted good bones.
Yes.
And that meant no frame damage. Just like the essential structure was pretty sound.
Yes.
And also low mileage.
After looking for a couple months on Craigslist, we really didn't find anything that was worth purchasing, and I was in a bad mood one day, and I was like kind of fed up and just like really didn't want to go forward with the idea, and Jenny convinced me to go out to KC, and man, I'm so happy she did.
When we first saw the RV, it was kind of, I don't want to say love at first sight, but it was the kind of thing where as soon as we both got in here, we both looked at each other and we knew this was our RV. Mm-hmm.
I think another thing that really sold us on it were the people we were buying it from.
Yes.
Super awesome people.
Mm-hmm. We had an instant connection with them. Dave and Carol, hi.
Hi. They're still following us on our journey, and we still keep in touch with them.
Yeah,
so.
They're such nice people. You could immediately tell that the owners just loved this thing. It was in such great condition, and they had, you know, a packet of all the original manuals that came with it.
They even had one that said, "The new magic of microwave cooking."
Yeah.
So imagine us, like, reading a manual like that. To me, anything like that, if they keep the manuals, if they, like these people had wheel covers on it, and just small stuff like that really indicates that they take really good care of their stuff. And so when you're looking for stuff on Craigslist, keep an eye out for little hints like that.
Now, by no means was the RV in perfect condition. You could tell that it was well taken care of, but when you're talking about an RV that's that old, you're pretty much guaranteed to have some problems.
Yeah.
So there was some water damage, as you saw in the other videos, our renovation videos.
Yeah.
But, I mean, really, like, for the age that it was and everything, it was in great condition.
Yeah. So that's pretty much the story of how we bought the RV. There are some things we would probably do differently. One thing we would have really done was educated ourselves on all the systems in an RV. So we went into it pretty much not knowing much about all the systems. And so if we could give you like one tip, make sure to look at the electrical systems, like the AC versus DC. Make sure to look at the propane systems, how it works, make sure that it works properly, and also the water systems, like the fresh water, black water, gray water, all that stuff. Have them test it out, have them show you how it works, and make sure that you're like really understanding what you're getting into. We basically just, you know, bought it from them. It had just recently passed an inspection.
Yep.
It had just recently gone through a mechanics inspection, their mechanics inspection, and we had all that paperwork. And so we went ahead and actually we test drove it first, made sure that, you know, I looked up some common symptoms of certain engine issues and made sure that it sounded good, that it, you know, there was no grinding or anything like that of the transmission, and it was nice and powerful.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with it. So went ahead and bought it. We also bought it kind of on the contingency that we were going to take it immediately to a mechanic before we drove it back to Columbia to make sure it was all good to go. And we did that practically I think it was like 45 minutes after we bought it. And we took it to a place. They checked it out for like a half hour, went over everything. They were like, yeah, this thing looks great. We knew that we were going to have to put in some work into it before we actually took it out on the road full time, but to get it back to Columbia, it was perfect for us to get it there. It's going to save you a lot of headache and a lot of time doing that before you purchase it. Okay, the last tip that I would tell you guys too before you buy an RV is if you are planning on towing a vehicle, make sure to look at the tow capacity on the back of the RV and make sure to look at all the calculations you need to do to tow a certain vehicle before you purchase the RV, so that in case you want to tow something, the RV is going to actually do it for you.
Thank you guys so much for watching. If you have any questions that you'd like us to answer, please leave them in the comments below.
If you like this video, make sure to like it down below, comment, share it with your friends, and if you haven't already done so, subscribe to our channel. We've got a lot more videos coming your way, and as always, we will see you guys on the next video.
Bye.
Alright, start.
Quote unquote Mike was the only one
Quote unquote working
and bringing in quote unquote money.